I think confidence can bleed into femininity. I feel like women are very confident, like naturally, and I feel like men always have that masculinity that stops it. I do think women hold a lot of power in this world that men don't.
Did you get along with all the girls that were on the trip? You didn't?
Did you see the fire? I just saw fire in her eyes.
When somebody cheats on somebody else, it's not because like it just magically happens. It's because somebody is interested in somebody else, and then they make a move, and then they make it known that they're making a move. Did you ever hear them complain, like anybody else complain after the fact, like you guys coming back, or did everybody come back together, or how did that? Or did some people get killed and kidnapped, or no?
If I told you, I'd have to kill you. So over the summer, we hung out a few times when I was in a relationship, but I was like rocky with my relationship, and I thought he was gay. And
maybe he is a doll.
He is a doll.
Let me ask you a question. Are you drunk a lot?
Drunk a lot?
Yeah. Like, I think within this conversation, you've been blacked out like multiple times.
No, yeah. You know, when you go through your breakup.
Welcome to Unattainable. Glad to have you with us and hope you'll continue to be a part of our family for the foreseeable future. And if so, please hit that subscribe button. I am Mohammed Malai here with our greatest and newest guest of today, Lauren and Gamze. Please introduce yourself, where you're from, what you do, so on and so forth.
Hi, I'm Gamze. I was born and raised in Germany. My mom's from Turkey. I have moved to Louisiana at the age of 15. That inspired me to go back to Germany, graduate, and then start traveling the world. Thus, Australia, Melbourne, Sydney. Then went back to Europe, and now I live here in Los Angeles, working as an actress and model.
Nice.
I'm from New Orleans. Can't back that. I'm from New Orleans. My name's Lauren. And I'm a content producer and model and actress.
Awesome. How old did you say you were?
22.
22. Okay. This past weekend, did you guys go to Coachella? You didn't. This second weekend. The second weekend, and you didn't.
I'm thinking Sunday I might. My friends want to like put, something into the air and see what happens. So who knows? I'm probably gonna head out there.
I have a feeling you're gonna go too.
I have a feeling.
I would.
But you said so. You didn't go. Have you gone to Coachella before?
No, never.
So you've never been?
No.
Okay.
I haven't heard the greatest things though, y'all.
Really?
No, because I get like the TikTok algorithm where it's like everyone's shitting on outfits and like how the lines are long and everything. And like I grew up camping and stuff, so it's not the biggest deal to me, but it was kind of like, oh, like it seems like such a big thing until you're like in the week of it and all your friends are there and there's like so many complaints. It stresses me out. Yeah. You've been?
I was supposed to go.
You've never been?
I have always been to the after parties.
Okay.
By saying always, I'm only referring to last year.
Uh-huh.
So then this year I was invited to like 10 different after parties and I was considering going, but only if I would have gotten an artist pass because the people I was supposed to stay with were all having the VIP artist passes, but I got to it a little too late, A. And B, I started having cramps. So I was like, you know what? Maybe that's just the universe telling me I need to stay home and take care of myself. So that's what I did. And the FOMO. The FOMO was big, but I survived. But next year, I'm definitely planning better and ahead. 100%.
So we have some mutual friends, you and I.
Yeah.
And you were with them at like last week. I guess the prior week to that, you were with them at Zeniara.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell everybody first of all what Zeniara is, because I think a lot of people don't know, and then just describe like your experience.
Oh lordy, you're gonna get me in trouble. Okay, so Zeniara is a mansion, with a lake around it. It's 3 acres, I think. Have you been?
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's like 3 acres all around acres. And it's owned by a very lovely man. And pretty much I got a text from one of my friends, our mutual, and he was just like, hey, do you want to come on a private jet and then go to this mansion? And I have been in and out of relationships for quite some time where I've never really answered his text when it comes to like that kind of thing. And then I was finally like, for the first time, I was like, you know what? YOLO. And so I went, and it was literally all the girls were gorgeous, had BBLs, had a lot of work done, like, you know, perfect though. And it was nice, not shaming it. It's beautiful. But I'm all natural with 32B tits. So I understood when I got there, like, I wasn't necessarily what everyone was going for. And so pretty much we had like schedules where we had to eat breakfast at a certain time, lunch and dinner, and then we had cocktail hour, and then other than that you could do like whatever you wanted. So I just like got in a bikini and I drank tequila at the open bar and I ate the food and I sat there on the little handheld jet skis.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I went in circles for hours, and then I met a really cool like 6-year-old guy that was telling me about his kids, and then we were friends. And then apparently we were up until like 4 a.m. one night, and Habibi, I don't know if I can say it, Habibi was there, and then like 2 of the girls and then 1 of the guys, and we snuck tequila from the bar because apparently they shut down like bar services at 12. We snuck tequila, and then we sat in the pool in the hot tub, and we rode the jet skis around in circles for like 5 hours, and then we contemplated doing mushrooms. It was great. I was happy.
All right,
Wow.
well,
Sounds like a great experience.
It was.
correction. So 3 acres is very small in comparison. So
I think it's 3 acres around though, no?
It's 70 acres of land.
What?
And so it's very massive. I mean, 3 acres is, I mean, that state has like a basketball court, a football court, and also a tennis, and
you might be right on that.
yeah. So I mean, that itself would be like.
I heard, is it just the walk around in the little path that's 3 acres? Something's 3 acres.
I mean, I don't know where you got the 3 acres from.
Nah,
But
I don't either. I was kind of throwing
obviously,
dust in the wind, hoping it caught.
3 acres. 3 acres would be within 70 acres. So technically speaking, something is 3 acres.
Maybe like the house.
Right.
Who knows?
I mean, it could be 3 acres of living space because it is fairly massive. So
yeah, it was insane.
But so how did you guys get there?
A private jet. I've never done that before. When I tell you, I grew up like my mom really worked her ass off. But I grew up semi-poor, and like the thought of being on a private jet was like out of reach. But we took a private jet there. The flight attendant was awesome. She poured us like champagne during turbulence because she knew we needed it. And then we landed. Then we took Sprinter cars to the actual house itself. Mm-hmm. So I didn't spend a dime.
What are Sprinter cars?
Like the big black cars that look like famous people bring around. Yeah. Okay.
So did you get along with all the girls that were on the trip?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't?
Did you see the fire? I just saw fire in her eyes.
Okay. There was no exact altercations. Okay. Everyone there was... You're trying to get me in trouble. Okay. No exact altercations necessarily. It was just a lot of... Not a lot. 2 girls that...
Out of the 9 girls.
Like 9? Yeah, it was 9. I think it was 9 exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So 2 girls out of them that were very ignorant towards the experience
the
that
privilege.
they were having. Yeah, the privilege.
Yeah.
And like for me, it's like that's never really happened. And so I was very much so like, hell yeah, like I'll do anything you ask, respectfully. Like I'll do most that you ask. But for them, it was very much so like, you know, oh my God, we had to like carry our own bags, you know, to the front door when we were leaving, and like they didn't have like the right amount of tequila that they wanted, and it was just so LA. And like for me, it was like I just didn't have any tolerance towards it, so I steered clear of them. But they let me borrow their flip-flops, so I was nice to them for like an hour. But once I returned them, I was back to like nonverbal around them.
So they were just like very obnoxious. Were they from LA?
No, they were from Russia.
Okay,
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
no comment.
So they were basically complaining while they were on the jet, or were they complaining also?
From the jet until we left. Like consistently like anything. We had like burgers and then like sashimi, sushi, and like all of this for lunch. When I tell you that's my 2 favorite things, like sushi and burgers, godsend. And they were mad about it. They thought it was like trashy. And I was like, dude, are you kidding? And it was just after that I kind of went nonverbal.
So they were saying this to like other girls, or they were just talking amongst.
I don't know why they thought I was their friend. I mean, I'm not like.
They were telling you.
Yeah, they were like actively like kind of like trying to like tell me, and I'm like, I can't relate. And you know, I'd be like, okay, that's yeah, sure, but I would never be like I agree or anything. I was just like, okay, nice. Let me eat my burger in peace.
So they were complaining about the food while they were on the jet. Is this jet food or is it?
Well, the jet had like sandwiches. And let me repeat that: the jet had sandwiches. Like what? Spirit Airlines flight has sandwiches, you know? And so it's like, dude. And then they had fruit and champagne. Come on. I was happy. Yeah.
I would be.
Thank you.
That's funny. Okay. So, did you ever hear them complain, like anybody else complain after the fact, like you guys coming back, or did everybody come back together, or how did that? Or did some people get killed and kidnapped, or no?
If I told you, I'd have to kill you. But most of us went back together. But then it was like a few stayed, depending on like how close you were with the people that were there and like when you came and all of that. So it was like a mixture. But the people that I came back with, other than the 2 girls that also came back with me, that I was just like, you're disrespectful and you were raised wrong, in my opinion. I'm still like, we talk, and like we might be going to Coachella on Sunday together. So like the other girls were cool and they were nice and kind, you know, they were all like super grateful for what was happening. But then the 2 girls, it was like a very prime example of like, you know, the culture shock when I moved here. It was kind of like I moved from New Orleans, where like little hand gestures and like a yes ma'am and no thank you goes a long way. Like it doesn't matter how old you are. And then you move here and it's like people have something to say about every little thing. You know?
The 2 girls that were complaining came back, you said? Okay. So I'm assuming nobody liked them. The ones who ended up staying, did you see like a form of transaction that was going on that you felt okay? So that means yes. So you feel like they stayed because there was something that they were like getting out of staying.
Okay, one of them came late. The other one was good friends with the owner of the house's like buddy, like best friend. And I couldn't really I didn't understand that. Okay,
because of the age difference.
Yes, and he was beautiful soul, funny, but he was very short and like
unattractive.
Yeah. And she was very beautiful.
Okay.
So, but she said that she wasn't really into him, so like I assume, I don't know. She looked happy. I mean, she's like Zeniara out of all places, so I don't think she has anything to complain about.
Right.
But
got it.
It felt a little transactional, but it wasn't like anything where you really turned your head and you were like, what the fuck? You know, it was kind of just like, okay, like that's what's happening. Got
it. So you've been modeling and acting for a while. Tell us a little bit about like your experience, how long you've been doing it, and just kind of your upbringing.
So I started working as a theater player at a young age. That came through the private school that I was going to, the private class that my mom would send me to. And from the theater, I signed up with their agency with the same school, and they then signed me different projects such as theaters, and then modeling gigs started coming in. And then around 15, I was like, okay, you know what? If I want to be internationally successful, I need to fly somewhere where I can practice my English. So I ended up choosing the States between the other ones, like London, Australia, etc. And came over here. While I was here, I had a break from acting and modeling because Louisiana was a thing. It was a show on itself. But once I finished that, I went back and focused on theater and shortly after I moved to Australia, where I became a dance performer internationally. And then soon after that, I came back here where the modeling started picking up, primarily because I applied for my green card and I didn't know I could not go back home. So now I'm here in this country. I cannot work. I cannot leave the country. So what do? Modeling comes in handier than acting because you can do it slightly more under the table than with theatrical jobs. So yeah, that's where I started focusing more on the modeling side of things. Met some very incredible people, but also some very interesting people doing that, especially during fashion weeks where the glitz and glam happens. A lot of big names show up and you get to have that firsthand experience, like everything that you've always dreamed about growing up overseas, or you might be able to relate. Coming from Louisiana, you always see the artists and the big time actors and models on TV, and here you are so close and you get to experience both sides of the story. You know, you meet agents that are great and you meet agents that just don't have the best thing in interest for you. And then you just kind of try to figure out your way through LA, but LA is definitely very different. And New York, I think that just goes for the whole modeling world, but especially in the States, I find it so different here. In Germany, everything is black on white on paper, and we do whatever we say on the paper. And here, I feel like you go into a meeting with an agent, and all of a sudden, the conversation is something completely different that you did not expect it to be.
Like what?
Like inappropriate. You know, you sit down and you think this is a big time agency, and you sit down, and all of a sudden, the agent tells you, you know, I have a crush into you. And I'm like, well, thanks. I don't know what to say to that. And I was like, okay, awkward. And so
you had this experience where the agent
with the agent during fashion.
What's the story of that?
Yeah, so this was during Fashion Week, I believe 23. Flew over, and I knew he was the agent of some of my fellow models, friends, and we started following each other. He reached out, hey, are you signed? I would love to set up a meeting. I was like, great. We met up at one of these member hotels of New York on a rooftop, and it was beautiful. The view was amazing. The food was great. And, you know, after we're like halfway through the conversation, after him telling me, yeah, you got the looks, we just got to work on a few of these shoots and a few of those shots, and then you got it, and then I can put you forth to this and that agency. But he was like, but what are you doing in LA? You know, you shouldn't be there. And then when I told him more about my private life, he said, you know, you should not be dating anybody. That's not good for you as a model. And I was like, oh, so models should not date? He's like, yeah, you know, that's not good for your business. I was like, okay. He's like, but you know, you should live with me. I can make you look expensive. I can get you bags. You gotta have a look. You know, all my ex-girlfriends, they're all Victoria's Secret. Now one of them is in Dubai. She's kicking it off. I was like, so where are they now? He's like, well, they left me. And I was like, I wonder why. Because all these girls that he was showing me looked smokes. And yeah, I don't know what his imagination of life is, but that was a total no for me. I was like, I'm sorry, this is not gonna work out. He gave me the contract. He was like, yeah, take your time, fill it out, and blah, blah. And I was like, that was such a red flag to tell me that I shouldn't be with my partner, that I should leave my partner and I should move in with him because he's gonna make me look pricey so that I can like have my dreams come true through him. I'm like, no, I'm so happy that at that point I had the confidence and the wisdom in the industry that I could for myself say, no, this is like, you crossed the border. This is so wrong. No, and I just hope that the younger version of me, including all other fellow women and sisters aiming to get into the modeling industry, that they know where the lines are and to respect themselves. It's so important.
Of course. I'm assuming you go to a lot of castings as well.
Yes. How
do you deal with rejection?
I don't think about them much. I just cast and then I let it go. Because I did that mistake once where I was so 100% sure they're going to take me. And I got there and I wasn't taken by this production that takes me every single season. This was for a runway show. I was like, what? Why? And I was just, and I had a bit of FOMO because all my friends were there. And I just thought the world had turned against me. I'm not good enough and all that. And it just drove me crazy for that whole week. And then eventually I just realized, if you want to be in this industry, you can't get hung up on what other people's opinion of you are. And you know, quite frankly, all you can do is control what you do on your behalf. When you walk into the room, you got to do the best as you can, try to be part of the solution for the project. But everything else other than that is outside of our control. And I think it just destroys you internally if you try to nitpick or whatever it's called. Nitpick. And try to analyze what it is that's wrong about me. Because there's so many other times where I was taken and it's proved to me that I am on the right path. But of course, I'm not going to get every casting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting because the concept of modeling and acting, it's all about the vision that the person who's casting you has.
Right.
And I think a lot of people fail to understand that it's majority of the time it's not personal. You know, sometimes people go and yes, you're not up to par to the expectation of what they're looking for, but most of the time it's just you're not the right look, or you just don't have the right voice if you're acting, or accents, or whatever the case is. So it's a lot less personal that people think it is.
Correct.
It all really comes down to numbers game, just really being consistent and keep doing what you got to do, and one day if you are talented, then you'll get a break.
Very true.
Have you started modeling and acting, you said? Yeah, that's what you do full time right now. Are you signed?
So I work for a social media marketing company, and I do meta ads right now. I do like a lot on the side, like side gigs. I'll do featured TV shows, or like just photo shoots. I do short skits, but I do a lot of Hims ads right now, so that's been pretty big in my career at this very moment. And then I do just like other independent meta ads, but majority is Hims.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's cool.
So that's like part of the acting is what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. What Hims ads do you do?
Like meta. Like
no, like what is the spiel?
You want me to like the script?
Yeah.
What is a Hims ads, by the way?
So Hims, it's a men's enhancement company. It's like their wellness. It's like dick pills. It's Viagra.
I mean, that's not all they have.
Yeah,
they have like hair products,
hair loss. They have like depression, but I don't work on that sector, which I wouldn't really take.
So
I don't think Hims is known for their Viagra pills.
You don't think?
That's not how I was exposed to it. It was mostly just hair products.
Yeah, the hair is big, but I think second is definitely like the
probably
Viagra.
Yeah, that's so funny.
I have this spiel stuck in my head 24/7. It's just the new Hims Sexer X plus Climax Control pill combines tadalafil and minoxidil, an ingredient proven to help men get hard and last longer with PE treatments. If prescribed, they'll deliver treatment straight to your door with free and discreet packaging. Enjoy Hims today, like something.
Oh wow!
I do it like once.
I'm gonna reach out to him, see if we can get a sponsorship.
Sounds good.
Be like, look, we already have a clip right here. That's funny.
Well done. I think you're gonna remember that one for a while.
Oh, I've been tired all day, so I'm trying to
go to bed. You're like,
Hims.
So what? Okay, what's your current relationship status?
Ooh.
Very complicated, huh?
No, not it's complicated, but not like I don't know.
What the fuck? What do you mean you don't know?
I just got out of a long-term relationship. I have been seeing somebody for a while now, but scared to commit. Have gone on a few dates here and there.
You're scared to commit. Okay. He wants to commit?
From my knowledge, yes.
What do you mean from your knowledge? Does he tell you he wants to make it official?
I was the one that started the he wanted to talk about like where we were, and then I like kind of I hijacked it. I hijacked the comment.
Change the subject.
No, I was just like, I'm not ready because I like freaked out a little. But I really like him, and I think he's a doll.
How long have you? He's a doll. That's how every man wants to be described. So how long have you guys been together?
Since January, I think. Okay, he's a great guy. No. I sound okay. Well, okay. So over the summer, we hung out a few times when I was in a relationship, but I was like rocky with my relationship, and I thought he was gay. And
maybe he is a doll.
He is a doll. No. I did think he was gay though, because he was very like, he just wasn't insecure in the slightest on who he was as a person, which I'm not used to. And like, he paints his nails, he wears like outfits, and he kind of has like the voice just a touch. He's not. And so then the fires happened. So it was like February. The fires happened. I was kind of like getting out of my relationship, and like I went through hell on earth at the end. So it took me a very long time to like find myself again and like not, be completely lost. And the fires happened, and I did like the douchebag guy thing where it's like, hey, are you up? But I was like, hey, how are you doing with the fires? kind of thing. And he was like, I'm doing okay. And he was like, we should get together sometime. And we did. And we started seeing each other for a week. And after that week, I worked at the Abbey. You know the Abbey, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I worked at the Abbey. And I was doing like these street interview things for my job. And I got blackout, and I went over to his house, and he lives up the street, and I was like, hey, like, how are you? And he was like, good. And he was like, we should go to the Super Bowl in New Orleans. And I was like, we should. And I'm drunk. And I was just like, sure. Yeah, we should. And he starts typing on his computer, and I start blabbering about some random shit. And then he was like, you should go home and pack a bag. And I was like, okay. And I pack a bag. And then next thing I know, we're like flying to New Orleans. I forgot socks. And we flew to New Orleans. And I surprised my mom and like all of this. And we were drunk for like 3 days. And then we came back, and he immediately wanted to have the talk. Mm-hmm. And I got overstimulated. Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Are you drunk a lot?
Drunk a lot?
Yeah. Like, I think within this conversation, you've been blacked out like multiple times.
No, yeah. When you go through a breakup, okay, it's fun to drink. Yeah. I mean, yeah, not anymore, but for a while, yeah.
Okay, you were like blacked out. You don't remember.
I'm also 22, mind you. So yeah, I had like a good 3 months where I was like consistently blackout drunk, and now I'm pretty sober.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
What was that story at Coachella?
Molly.
Yeah. I didn't hear that because I was in the bathroom.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So does he know you think all these things that you just describe him as?
What, gay? Or
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so he knows that you think he knows why you think he was gay.
Oh yeah, he says he gets that a lot. So
interesting. Okay, interesting. I guess as long as he knows, then that's all that matters. So you like him because he is feminine or because he's confident?
Confident.
Okay.
And I think confidence can bleed into femininity. I feel like women are very confident, like naturally, and I feel like men always have that masculinity that stops it. I do think women hold a lot of power in this world that men don't. And I will stand on that because women love to kind of show, and it can be an act or not, but like being confident is kind of just acting at the end of the day, And so like we can wear the makeup, we can do the outfits, and we'll always feel a certain way. But a man, I think, tries to cover it up with like a masculinity in a certain way where it's coveted. I don't know. It's just the way I think. It's interesting, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting perspective for sure.
Yeah.
So, what is your relationship status?
I'm married.
You're married.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. When did you get married? How long has it been?
So we met 2019. He is a director, and we were on set for Nike, and I was talent. Right around that time, I was producing my own movies, and was looking for a new director for my next piece because the first crew I hired in Berlin was not quite understanding my vision. And I was just praying, I was like, please send me somebody who understands my vision, because I need somebody who I can trust behind the camera while I'm also in front of the camera. And I met him, and we started talking about the project. Then he flew me out to New York, and I met his parents. So there was like two things going on at once. And then
I'm sorry. He flew you to New York because of the project?
No, I was actually going to fly to LA for the project.
Uh-huh.
We shot the first part in Berlin. Then the second part was supposed to take place in LA. And the last part was supposed to take place in Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
But between us shooting in Berlin and us shooting in LA, there was 2 months in between. And during those 2 months, we traveled a lot. He came see me again. Then he went back to LA, worked on a Mini Cooper job, and then immediately came back and picked me up again. He was like, hey, I want to see you again. And then we went to Tenerife and then came back again. So it was just a lot of travels. And I was really not, at that point, I was like done with dating and just wasting my time on boys who just weren't really, I think, I don't know if it's the same thing as a guy as well, or as men. You are with somebody, but you can tell whether it's going to have a future or not. And with the previous guys, they were incredible, but I just didn't see a future. I didn't see like the man that I would bow down to, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was wild myself, and I would not, like, it was hard to
tame.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And with him, I was like, you know what? I am not interested in wasting my time any further with exploring life, being a free bird, traveling around, all that. I feel like I've done enough of that. And now I really want to take all the creativity and all the inspiration and motivation. I want to really spill that into my work, into my craft. And I want to have somebody by my side who understands my vision. So when I come home and I speak about camera angles, character development, storyline, and all of that, lighting, etc., I just want to have somebody who understands what I'm talking about versus, somebody who comes home and all that he knows about is just maths and physics and the gym, and all I talk about is just colors and creativity and all that, and the only common point we have is just the gym. So, and I was like, okay, how was your day? Great, yeah. And just I find attraction only, and great sex don't just don't make the whole way, So anyways, we started then seeing each other. Obviously it was far distance, wasn't really a problem because we're seeing each other a lot, but then COVID hit. And all of a sudden there was flights we couldn't board, and book the next flight, and I can't board, and books the next flight, and he can't board. And I was like, okay, I've had enough. I don't know how much longer the pandemic is going to go, but I really want to have some security that I know we can see each other and not have to like spend 15K on flights per month that we can't attend. So I flew here for Fashion Week, and I was like, okay, you know what? If it's just a paper that I got to sign, let's do it. And that's how that story began. Yeah. Anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't like a traditional sense. It wasn't like a wedding and all that. It was rather more COVID. I want to see my partner. He wants to see me. And if we have to be married, then okay, let's be married.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting because like you met this person through work, and in a sense, he was kind of, the director that you wanted for your project, right? And what's interesting is that you had connection with this person.
Yeah.
And so you allowed a romantic relationship to grow from that.
Yeah, I think it started off the other way around. So the first subject, my initial interest when I saw him on set, I did not have any like romantic thoughts. I was looking at it from a very professional perspective. I was thinking maybe I should approach this guy. He seems like he's very detailed with his angles. He was in that moment when I was admiring him from a distance, working with a star athlete who obviously was not an actress, so she was not trained at doing the motions that the client was expecting. So me watching the whole scenario from the distance, I was seeing that certain things were not happening very authentically because the athlete was told, you got to bring these lines to the camera, pretend like you got beaten, and then you get up and then you remember why you do it, and you say, you never do it for yourself, you do it for your people. But when she delivered it, it seemed a bit robotic and cold to me. And I'm just sitting there as also a talent, obviously not the star talent, but I'm just like, should I go and say something? I was like, no, it's not your position, you can't say something. I was like, no, I gotta say something. And then a few seconds later, I would see him just whisper something into her ear, and she started going, oh, when she started getting really hyped up, and he was like, okay, box me, and go. And then she would go and deliver the lines so authentically. And I was like, wow, I love that eye for detail. And And there was a couple other things with camera angles that I felt like, oh, I need to jump up and do something. And this guy, he's in the middle of 500 people. There's like the clients, the art department, the camera department, et cetera, like 300 extras. It was just a huge set. And he doesn't even see the big screen. But I love the fact that this guy might be looking straight forward, but his eyes behind him. Like he just has got this 360 thing going on. And I was like, oh, this is really admirable. So then I was going to approach him if he would like to work on my movie. I'm like, yeah, setting up the stacks high. But funny enough, turns out now that we met each other, he told me during lunch break, while I was looking for him at crew camp, because I knew some of the camera department through a series that I played in, they took me there, and I didn't find him there because turns out he was also at talent camp looking for me because he spotted me in the crowd that I was sitting in. And when I was disappointed having not found him and was coming back, I all of a sudden saw him right in front of me, and I was like, what do I do? Of course. And he's just coming straight towards me. And I was like, hey, you. And I was like, me? And he was like, yeah, you. I was like, hi. And then he was like, what's your name? And I told my name, and he was like, you're not German, are you? And I said, no, my mom's from Turkey. And he was like, okay, lunch is about to be over, but make sure to come speak to me before you leave. I was like, cool. So after we were done, we set aside, and he said that they were granted some time in Barcelona because it was such a long project, but in 2 weeks they were going to come back, and that he would like to see me. And I was like, yeah, cool. Didn't think much of it. I was still going to keep it on that level, like, hey, do you want to work on a movie together? But turns out he had found me interesting more than that. And he was, oh my God, so confident. I've never met a man that was that confident. Like usually I would go sit down somewhere with a guy, and they would be, it's just like the usual slow attraction towards one another, like slowly stepping closer towards one another. And with this guy, he does not fuck around. He sat down and he pulled that chair, vrooms. He was like, so tell me about you. But not in a sleazy way or anything, but like just real, legit, means it. And then he also told me, this is my life. This is who I am. This is what I'm not. And from there, things got very interesting. Mm-hmm. But we still saw each other for another few weeks without having ever like stayed together or something like that. Mm-hmm. I made sure that I didn't stay because I didn't want to do something wrong that I would regret. And then we started seeing each other. And then he went back to do the Cooper job. And I was supposed to then meet him a month later in LA for the movie. But instead, literally a week later, he was like, I can't do it. I got to see you again. Where would you like to go? I'm going to come pick you up. He flies back to Berlin to pick me up. And I just decided, okay, let's go to Tenerife. Flew over there, had a beautiful 2 weeks. And that's after that, I went to see and met his parents.
Mm-hmm. When you say that the concept between how the professional relationship and the unprofessional relationship mixes in this scenario is very similar to the one where you sat down with the agent.
Oh no, they were worlds apart. This guy and I met just to speak about an agency contract. And he then says, I'm attracted to you. You should leave your partner and you should be with me. And I'm going to make you wealthy and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to make your dreams come true. And I was like, excuse me, this is not mutual, first of all, at all.
Right. So that's what I'm getting at, which is like the only difference is the nuances, right? It's the approach. Mm-hmm. But in essence, they're the same exact thing. Because one is that your husband now, at that point, saw you and was attracted to you. Mm-hmm. And in this case, this guy saw you and was attracted to you. The only difference is...
I never thought about it that way.
The only difference is that one had the sort of attraction back reciprocated from your end, and the other one didn't.
I think one was a little more sleazy because she wasn't in a relationship.
Sure, of course. The approach is there, right? But also, I think the one on his end, right? The reality of it is like a lot of people. This is the whole concept of cheating comes into play, right? Like when somebody cheats on somebody else, it's not because like it just magically happens. It's because somebody is interested in somebody else, and then they make a move, and then they make it known that they're making a move. And if that person is attracted to that, to that approach, then they'd be like, oh, okay, this seems like something that I would want to get into. And I would say, like, one of the downsides of being an actress, for example, and this is something that I've noticed very common in your industry, is that a lot of divorces happen, but then the relationship, I guess the person who is the reason why you go through the breakup is another coworker. Majority of the time. If you look at like very famous actors and actresses who have broken up with their partners, is because they were in another film with another person who they somehow found attractive, and then they ended their old relationship because of that new person. So does that ever worry you, or does that ever worry him?
I don't think so. Like,
have you guys ever talked about that?
No, I don't think it bothers him, because he definitely does trust me. Like, sometimes I'd be out till 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. He will never second guess what I'd be doing, or etc. And I think it comes from a place of him knowing the household I was raised up in, and just the bold honesty I come with, whether it's kind or not kind. I always prefer to be honest about things, and I think that's what gives him the confidence in that sense. I hope it does. But so far, there has not been an issue in that regard.
But do you think it's possible?
But I totally get where you're coming from. If I had a partner and he was an actor and he had a set, like a hot scene, I'd be like, damn. Because it's so hard. Like, you all of a sudden expect that person to imitate being in love with that person for a full month. And obviously, lead characters, chances are high they're both going to be attractive looking people. Then you're like, I really don't want to squeeze you into a corner that you don't want to be in. But do you want to be honest with me? Was there any sort of chemistry? Because it's just so likely to happen if you've got to fake it for a whole month and you've got hotbed scenes nonstop, or kissing scenes and stuff.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's easy to be in your shoes, because right now you're the actress and he's the director. So he's not going to have any of those scenes, obviously, but you might. Actually, it's more likely for you to have it than even a male actor, right? So how do you justify that? Like, I understand that he probably, I guess for him, like, he understands it, but how do you justify it?
How do I justify kissing a man in a movie?
Yeah. Or being physical, essentially.
I think him and I have had a conversation about this before. I have had a kissing scene that, if I would have gotten the role, I was very close. I was called all the way after the callback. There was a chemistry, what do you call that again?
Read.
Yes, chemistry read. And I was like, okay, if I get past the chemistry, it was just going to be either me or the other actress, then I will be the other side of this relationship with the guy. And how do you feel about that, etc. And he was like, you know what, you do you, I trust you. But he does know that I have a bit of a situation with exchanging saliva. And I'm like, I really hope he's got, like, what are we gonna do with the breath? Like, how am I gonna tell him, can you please brush your teeth? And so we had actually a giggle about it rather than like concerning conversations. I did not end up getting that role, so it didn't end up getting to that point where we had to seriously discuss it. But I don't think he would have an issue with it, which I'm very grateful about, the trust that I get.
What I'm asking you more so is, sure, great, he's understanding, but if he was not, and if he said, I don't want you to do that, how would you justify it?
I would say it's a job, just like every other. It's not like I'm out there actively cheating, because there's intimacy coordinators in the room, there's a director, and then, of course, depending on how intimate the scene is, there's also, a whole blockage of scenes so that other people cannot see it, like team members, crew members cannot even watch. And then they can use body doubles as well if I don't want to see my buttocks or my boobs or anything. So there's ways to talk around it.
So justification is because it's a job, that therefore it's okay.
And there's an intimacy coordinator. In other words, there's not like actual sex happening, or the kiss obviously would be real in that sense, but even that can be played around. But yeah, I think it's a job. I look at it as a job. I don't look at it as like, hey, I'm out there using.
How is that any different than a porn star trying to justify their sex scene with their partner?
Can I talk?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
I think, how do you justify sitting here in a room with two women right now in a mansion in, Hollywood? It's a job.
Having a conversation?
Yeah. I mean, you got to think about it.
I think there's a
if your
complete
partner
difference.
wasn't okay with something like that, then how would you justify it? But her partner's okay with something like that, so she doesn't necessarily have to justify it because there's trust. So, people, when you're in relationships, you pick and choose your partner. There's 8 billion people in the world. Some people aren't okay with that. And some people won't be.
Yeah, my ex was not okay with it.
My ex wasn't okay.
No,
with
of course. I'm not talking about her partnership. Obviously, her husband is okay with that, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is, in general, most people aren't okay with it.
And that's just
right?
not your person.
Yeah, that's why I left my ex.
Because he wasn't okay with you.
I know. I was going to networking, to film festivals, and I couldn't take him everywhere because I was already somebody's plus one. Like this was like an agency thing, and I couldn't take that on top of myself being somebody's guest list than other people. And he would always get jealous and make me feel bad and stuff. And I was like, okay, I can't do this. You're cock blocking me from my career, and also neither do I see the man in you that I would bow down to. Like when I want to. With my current partner, I just when I looked at him, I saw that it was him. Like I saw he was a rock, like somebody I can lean on, like somebody who I can go through a storm with, who I can count on, who's got my back, and whose back I've got. Like this out-knockable giant without being giant physically.
So okay, so your thought process, Lauren, is that if the person is not okay with it, then he's not for me. It's not so much that I need to have a logical reason for this to be okay, but more so I'll just find somebody who is okay with it.
I don't think I'm the poster child for what's right and wrong.
You don't say.
But I don't think, if we want to talk individually, I've had an OnlyFans. I have had exes that were okay with it. I have had exes that aren't. I don't have one anymore because of one of those exes, because I respected them enough to end it and disrespected myself enough to end it. I think if we want to fight the battle between right and wrong, I feel like there's 10,000 people that will think one thing's okay, and then there's the other 7 million that'll think it's not. But if you think that it's okay, then stick with those 10,000 people. I think every single person is so individually different. And, some people believe sex work is work. Some people think it's not. Some people think OnlyFans is sluts. Some people think it's honest work. And I think you can't really specify these careers to one specific label because it's just not the way it is.
Understood. Let me reverse this question.
Okay.
Actually, I'm going to start with you. If your husband now all of a sudden was like, "Hey, I'm gonna start doing a couple of acting stuff. Yeah, I'm a director of this project, but I'm also gonna act in it as well." And now he's got an extremely attractive woman casted as the other person.
I'm imagining right now. Okay.
And he's like, yeah, there's like this sex scene, and we have to make out, and it's like a very hot sex scene.
Oof. Wow.
Is that something that you're okay with?
I would love to have a conversation about it.
How's this conversation gonna go? Let's have a conversation. I'm your husband now. Let's have this conversation.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, what's the subject matter? First of all, I'd love to understand the storyline.
It's like a love story between this woman and this man who were high school sweethearts, and then they lost touch, and then they got back together, and now they're both in very toxic relationships, but they find each other to be very comforting and want to get back with each other, but want to leave their partners.
Oh, they both want to leave their partners in the movie.
For each other, yeah.
You're killing me.
that was the plan, yeah.
And he wrote this. I'd be like,
no, he didn't write it. He didn't
like,
write
what
it.
inspired you to write this? Why are you trying to tell me something?
No, he didn't write it. He's somebody else wrote it. He's just directing it, and he's also acting in it.
Well, first of all, the story seemed very harmless up until the very last part. And I was like, okay, it's a cute storyline. I can live with that. But yeah, no, if it's his desire to fulfill himself as an actor or experience that, I would totally not cock block him in that sense. I would support him, but I would definitely ask him, or you in this scenario, to tell me if you feel an attraction towards her. Because I have nothing against it. There's nothing wrong with it. But I would appreciate honesty. Because if there is something, I would happily let you go so that you can move forward. But I do not want to like be cheated on or something like that. And then be left in the dark about things.
So I'll be honest with you, because this is our policy. And it would be a lie if I say that she's not an attractive person, because she is. I could see, and she's an attractive person. However, I love you. And you are my wife, and that's, I have no feelings towards this person.
I can live with that. That's cool. I appreciate the honesty that he said she's attractive, because clearly she is attractive. I've got eyes. Because it would be wrong if you sat here and no, she's not attractive. Like, excuse me. So no, that already shows me, okay, you got the balls to tell me into my face you find her attractive. And I love that. I appreciate that so much. Honesty, seriously. Honesty is beautiful in that sense. Now, you go to set, and of course, what else can I do besides trusting you? Go ahead and have a blast. I will come to the premiere. Duh. There will definitely be sequences there. I'll be like, whew. But I gotta make sure that there was an intimacy coordinator. That's important for me. So that there was not actually anything going on underneath the sheets. So also has to be a different category here.
Okay. So you said something very interesting within that conversation. You said something, I don't want to be cheated on.
Yeah.
And where is that line?
If he were to, let's say, have drinks after work, and all of a sudden they end up in a hotel room or in the toilet, and something happened there, that would be, yeah. But
where is the line exactly? I mean, obviously, if they end up
sex.
Okay, so the line is if they actually have actual sex. So what? So what do you consider cheating?
Having sex with someone. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't consider somebody flirting with somebody else cheating?
No, for me that's not cheating. Flirting, no, over the table, and it's a group setting, like we're all work colleagues, and there's a little bit of a flirt over cocktails. Like, I would not.
What if they're one-on-one?
And flirting, that would be a little bit of an orange flag.
What if they are messaging each other back and forth?
Messaging?
Text messaging, yeah.
I text people a lot too.
But flirting. I want to see you. I like you. I think you're very attractive.
Oh, okay, that kind of texting. I'd be like, okay, I need an explanation for that. So you're attracted and you want to hang out with her? Like, well, how do you want to hang out? Aren't you guys shooting a movie? Do you now want to meet her for other purposes? Like, I need some explanations here.
I mean, we haven't met yet. So it's just we're kind of like, we've been talking, and she's very adamant to want to see me, and like
why does she want to see you? You guys haven't even started working.
Because no. So this is just some random woman, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some random woman finds you on Instagram and says,
no, it's like an extra that was on set, and then she was like, hey, we should exchange numbers. I would love to be on your next project. Blah blah blah.
Project is fine.
Yes, but that's how it started. And then she started texting, we should, spend some time. And then, I'm traveling, she's traveling. So we're just texting. How's your day going? Blah, blah, blah. And now we're like closer to each other because we've been talking for a month.
I would probably then ask, is this on a friendly level, the talk back and forth? It depends on the words. Really
flirting. You're so attractive. I want to see you. It's gotten to a point of...
That's definitely okay. That's crossing a mark there. I'd be uncomfortable with that.
Okay, so that is cheating, essentially.
Yeah.
Or
it's
not
like going
cheating.
that direction.
Okay.
That could still be stopped and prevented, But if somebody already reaches out like that, if my partner already reached out to somebody like that with that vocabulary, clearly there's something lacking in our relationship at that point already. And I would not have any more interest in trying to force or hold on to something when he already is making steps and approaches other people.
Now, if your partner cheated on you, is there any forgiveness?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, so there is a chance of going back, and there is a chance of trying to fix.
There's a chance of trying to fix, but I do not think there's a chance of going back to what it used to be. I don't think things can ever be exactly what they used to be once really heartbreaking scenarios have happened.
Understood. Have you ever been cheated on?
I will keep that part to myself.
Sure. Lauren, same question to you. What do you consider cheating?
I think anything you have to hide from me, like that you keep to yourself because you're scared that it might hurt me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, not putting me first in a situation that could lead to that. I think just ignorance. I think ignorance can be cheating, situationally. That's my only.
What does that mean? Ignorance can be cheating situationally.
Like doing anything that can be hidden, like, keeping things from me, anything physical, unless it's like a hug. But I also can understand a male's perspective where it's like, us women do sometimes have to flirt to get out of situations. And it isn't necessarily something that we want to entertain, but I can understand gaining something from flirting, and I can understand saving yourself in situations and having to flirt and like kind of give that energy. And if it were the same thing for a man, that would be okay. Like anything that I would have to do, if it was situational to them as well, that's okay. If he has to kiss someone to get them to go away because he fears for his safety, if he has to flirt with someone to get something he really needs for his career, that's fine.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Would you ever forgive your partner for cheating on you?
No.
So it's over.
Completely.
Doesn't matter if you're married, have 3 kids.
Does not.
It's over. You will get a divorce and walk away.
Yes.
Have you ever been in love?
Yes.
You have. You think you have, or you actually have?
I have.
Why do you think so?
It was the first time in my life I ever felt safe and quiet. So, it was very comforting, and it was definitely a new feeling. And I was excited to wake up, but I didn't live for them either. So I kind of understood the difference between lust and love when I started living for myself, and I was just excited to tell them about it rather than my, what I gained and like my success was like me trying to gain something where I was even to them. So yes, I've been in love.
And how old were you?
19.
How long was the relationship?
A year and a half.
Okay. Why did it end?
Mental health issues.
His or yours?
Mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you had the opportunity to go back to that relationship, would you?
No.
Why not?
Because we were perfect in that moment, but the sequel's never as good. So. Yeah.
Is that a theory?
I know him now, and he's not the same person, and we don't have the same morals anymore that we once did. So, and he's also from the South, so I think we can all understand what those morals are.
Well, is it so he would obviously not be okay with you having had OnlyFans, I'm assuming?
No, he would be.
He would be okay.
It. Yeah.
Oh, okay. At the time he knew about it and he was okay with it.
Yeah.
Okay. You said something about how you ended, or you ended your OnlyFans career because of your exes. Was it this ex or another ex?
Different one.
How did that go?
The relationship?
Sure.
Or...
that, and also the reason why you ended it.
So I oh lordy. So I started dating the guy after a really abusive relationship. He liked to say it the whole relationship, but the more therapy I've done, it's true. He was my safe option. I hate to say it. It just is what it is. I was unhealed and it was comfort. We dated for a year and a half. He was very insecure. And I was young and free and he was a lot older. And so it was like to my understanding, I was just being who I was and there was no secrets. Like what I told him was exactly what was happening, unless like, you know, it was something before I met him that I didn't feel the need to say. But super insecure. It was very overwhelming, kind of having to keep making excuses. The relationship got worse. There were points that got somewhat physical. And then that's when you know, like, it's over. Mm-hmm. I was accused of cheating, and then that's when you kind of, and I knew I wasn't. And so that's when you kind of think like, okay, now they're kind of, what's the word? Projecting.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like kind of my understanding. He had such a weird thing about my OnlyFans. I was never really lying about anything on it. I did lie about getting back on it at one point, though, when I said that I was taking a break, but I just did messages for a minute because I needed the money, but I didn't want to like make him mad. And then I went back to it, and I did lie once, but I ended it finally because I was just so sick of like the constant abuse towards it. I'm feeling like less than a woman and feeling like awful about my body, and it just wasn't the whole reason I started it in the first place. And so we dated another like 2 months, and I kind of knew about this thing about Detroit where he might move there, but like I didn't think it was real. And I was like, well, you know, and I fought for him to stay, and I was like, but he's not actually gonna leave. Then my best friend passed away on November 28th in a car wreck. And I found out in the morning, and then 2 hours later, I called him and I was like crying about it. And I told him that she died. And then he was like, you know, I'm so sorry for your loss, but I know we were supposed to move in on Monday, but I'm moving to Detroit. And like, go fuck yourself. And like, yeah, cursed me out all night. And that was pretty much the last time I talked to him. Oof. But yeah. Wicked.
Spicy.
Mm-hmm.
And where'd you find this guy?
The streets. A pool party, actually. Mutual friend. Yeah.
How long did you say you guys were together?
A year and a half.
A year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, this is the guy you were in love with?
Mm-mm.
Different guy. After that.
Mm-hmm.
So 19 to 20. Wait, how does that math work?
21 to 22 is when we dated. This ended in November.
21 to 22 and a half, basically.
Yeah.
So a year and a half. Okay. Okay. So do you think that you've had the same cycle of picking toxic relationships?
Yes.
How do you know that the one that you're sort of in now is any different?
I don't, and that's why I haven't committed yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in therapy because, you know, at a certain point, if you stay in something and you keep complaining about it, you're choosing it. My opinion, and I've been through so many toxic relationships to the point where I kind of, after my last one, had to sit down and look in the mirror and be like, okay, is it actually them or am I projecting? And I think it can be a mixture of the two.
Sure.
I think I definitely have like a lot of unhealed trauma that I'm actively working on. And I think the new guy, for the first time in a long time, I respect him. And I've not really dated men that I respect necessarily. So I do respect him enough to take the time for a moment to make sure that it's just not another cycle.
Got it.
Yeah.
Nice. Good for you.
Thanks.
You're married now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming you don't want to talk about your past date life, or you're okay with talking about it. Okay. Have you ever been in toxic relationships? Or have you always had like fairly decent and
very decent, very solid, very peaceful. Until I was like, okay, I'm bored. Get the fuck out of my house. And then I'd regretted for about a month. I'd cried, upset, but I just kind of always have been the kind of person who is like, gives it a shot. And after a while, if I feel like, okay, this is not going to have a future, then I'm like, okay, snap out of it. You're not in love anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very easy for me to cut things off. And even if I would be upset, because, you know, some person ultimately also becomes like your best friend, you know, when you're dating them, you get really used to the person, and you love them, you care for them. And when you then break up, often the side that was let go of is upset about it and doesn't want to talk or has resentment. I've also had situations where we maintained the friendship, and then there's one occasion where it flipped the other way around, and I was like, go off, and I was like, oh my God, that's hurtful.
Well, yeah, it sounds like the ones that you broke up with them, you've already checked out of the relationship long before the breakup came along.
Yeah.
So you've had the time to process your disconnection, whereas they haven't.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But similar to you, what you just said, you haven't respected them enough to sit with it for too long. I wouldn't say that I didn't respect them, but it was just not the kind of respect that, you know, for example, I have from my current partner.
Yeah, exactly.
Like certain behavior I would allow myself and be like, and that I wouldn't do to him. I think it's an energetic thing.
Sure.
That a man exudes. You know, also the respect that the man exudes towards me goes back. I'm not saying that the other guys were disrespectful, but I don't know. It's just something so like almost fatherly about him, or like, I don't know, it's like a tribe leader, or just
like an alpha.
Wise, yeah, but not in a macho way. Who are you, man? Why are you checking out my wife? Like, not that kind of alpha, not that kind of masculinity. Like, just so zen in his own presence. He doesn't have to talk. He doesn't have to say words. Like, I've never been hit on around him. I always feel so safe and so secure around him. And I've just never had that. Like, all my life growing up, I grew up without a father. I always knew I had to have my own ass covered. I would never walk around in heels. I'd never have cute little purses or little skirts. I always knew when shit goes down, I got to kick and I got to punch and I got to run. So, yeah, I just feel like, I don't know, some people call it the father syndrome or whatever it's called. When you grow up without a father and you look for the person that
daddy issues.
Yeah, in other words. I don't know if it's like in alignment with that terminology, but up until my current partner, it just was like on self-defense mode. Not that I'd be tense all the time, but I'd be confident, cool. But after meeting him now, all of a sudden I have so many high heels, so many little clutches. I'll wear a skirt if I'm out with him. But still to this day, it doesn't matter whether I'm with him or not. If I go out in LA at nighttime by myself, I still won't wear tiny little heels that I can barely walk on together with a skirt, because, you know, shit still can go down when you're out alone as a woman late at night. So, yeah.
Do you think are women only interested in men because of financial security?
No, absolutely not.
Why do you think women are interested in men?
Because up until my current relationship, I have never had a relationship where I would have my stuff paid ever in a billion years. I'm very much like, it's almost like an ego thing. I must pay for myself, because also I feel weak. I feel like a little pussy, like, oh, thanks. I feel like a beggar. I don't like that feeling. So I'm like, and I guess maybe I have that from my mother as well. She's a very giving person. Because I grew up without siblings by my side, I'd invite all the kids from the neighborhood. I'd be like, come on, what's mine is yours. And my mom would open the doors to everybody. My mom herself came from the village in Turkey, a tiny little village, Holy Lands, Cappadocia. I don't know if you know about it. That's where the hot air balloons go up. That's where my mom is from. But the people who were originally from there, they grew up with nothing. You know, they would make shoes out of leaves and sticks, and one family house would have just like a handful of rice, and they would cook and share it with the whole neighborhood, because everybody was, you know, sharing and giving and caring. And I think I have that from my mom. So then when I started dating people, it would always like, I like to give, I like to host, I like to cook for you, I like to have candlelight and make sure everybody's invited and people don't feel left out. And it's just this very family thing that I have. Like, I want to cultivate that warmth for other people. And so my relationships were part of that community that I would create for myself, whether I was starting from scratch in Berlin or in Australia or in Hamburg, wherever that may be. But with the relationship, of course, then there's a romantic factor, but it still wouldn't take away from me still owning my stuff and you owning your stuff, like my responsibilities and your responsibilities. Now with him, for the first time, of course, I wasn't allowed to leave the country. I wasn't allowed to work, and it was so hard for me to accept his help. But I just literally had no other choice for the first year. I was not allowed to leave or work. So I had to like put my guards down. It was really embarrassing to me. So yeah, to answer your question, I don't think all women are like that. But to give you credit on that question, I came to LA and I was like, wow, this is so not like Germany.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's definitely a bit of a culture shock. I feel like there's definitely the whole attitude of, what else does it get to offer? Kind of thing. But then I think guys become resilient to that shit. And then guys can be like, well, you're just one of many. Flick to the girls. And then they switch the girls around. Like just kind of like the party you were just talking about. So I think it's like, it's become like a give and take in this city. I'm sure there's some that aren't like that. But when you go out, a lot of women walk around with the mentality, you got to pay for my shit.
Right.
And guys are like, yeah, I got it all.
Okay, final question. And this goes to both of you. Should marriage be a lifelong commitment, or should it have an expiration where you get to renew after the expiration is up?
So my take on it growing up was always thinking that it's absolute bullshit when I'd watch these young, like 19-year-olds sit in front of the altar and be like, forever and always will be, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're 19, you are going to change so much. And so is he. And so to give these huge promises, expecting yourself to stay and be the same person for the rest of your life, I think is just a little foolish. I would be honest about it. I say, hey, for right now, it's great. Let's see where it goes. But just to make these huge promises and then expect we're going to spend 80 years together when you haven't like even explored your life, I think no. However, if you get to a place where you have explored, now, again, I agree with you. Everybody's so individual. There's some people who did find that person at 17 and they died together at 80 or 90, which I find so inspiring. But for me, that was never something that clicked for me. I just never thought that I will meet one person and I will be everything that I ever needed, because relationship is growth. You grow in a relationship, you learn about yourself, and you also teach the other person so many things. Like it's a give and take, but I don't think the lesson is learned with one relationship. And that's why I always knew I was going to have a few before I would settle with someone. And now comes the second part of the story. Then you do get married, but is it working out? That's another thing, because dating can be so just rosy and bubbly, but then getting into the real life is definitely a challenge. You know, marriage is work and not everybody's perfect. And you got to figure out for yourself, are you willing to, like, is the love worth it to fight past the challenges? Yeah.
Same question goes to you. Should marriage be a lifelong commitment, or should it have an expiration that can be renewed?
I think growing up in the South, the reason I moved to LA was because I was so terrified of like ending up married with kids so young. Exactly.
That's why I left Louisiana. My boyfriend was like, you want to move in? I was like,
hell no.
I'm going to travel. You can come join, but I'm not staying.
Have fun. But that's like the main reason I moved to LA, is because that was my biggest fear. But for a while, I had to fight the battle with myself where it's like, am I afraid of that commitment or am I afraid of comfort? And it's a little bit of both. But I do think it should be like drinking. If I were to play God for a sec, I do think it should be like drinking. I feel like if you get married, let's say under 25 years old, I think that they should have like an automatic renewal thing where it's like you choose at a certain point to renew. Because I completely agree with you, where it's like I never grew up, you know, necessarily believing in that like first person at a young age and like whatever. And I've been in relationships where I was like, I am so madly in love. And then I'm like 2 years, 3 years down the road and I'm like, I respect and still have love for that person. I'm not in love. If I was married to them, I'd be married to a shrimp guy on a farm, you know, with a white picket fence house and a stay-at-home mom. And that's not the life I want to live. But I wouldn't have known at the time because I didn't know what I wanted at the time. So I do think I believe in marriage. I believe in love. It should be lifelong, but I do feel like age and your frontal lobe and growing is like a big aspect on where that answer lies at certain points in your life. I think saying I do is truthful in the moment, but you know, I loved avocado toast like 2 weeks ago.
I love the honesty.
Well, thank you both for your honesty and openness and for sharing your story.
Thank you for the challenging questions.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
And we'll see you later.